Hi folks, Nella here. Um, so, for whatever reason, I've been really crazy missing having my character Fleur as a doll. For anyone who's newer to my channel, Fleur was my first ever doll. Um, and I still have the actual physical doll that she started off as. But I felt like that no longer was the correct shell for the character. So I picked out what doll I want to get to be her. I dreaming doll Bella. But the problem is, of course, I don't have the money to immediately do that. So I don't have the main character for my two biggest stories. Which is really weird because she actually kind of connects a couple of the characters I do have shelled right now, and without her being there, it's kind of really weird. Also, I've had her character as a doll in my hands since late 2006, so it's weird to not have her. But to get over, or to slightly deal with that fact, I decided to experiment with the Sims 4 Creator Sim demo that was released a few days ago. And I made versions of her and her two partners from later in the story when she actually does end up with them. Fleur, as my old videos state, Fleur lives and works at the Curiosity Shop, and much later in her story, she ends up becoming romantically involved with two of the living statues at the Curiosity Shop, Simone and Peder, and their relationship is absolutely adorable. I'd say Peder is kind of adorable. He really is. Though, much like most of my characters, especially ones who've lived in the Curiosity Shop for any length of time, they can also be really creepy. Yeah. Anyway, so I made pretty accurate to how I imagine them looking if they were actually like walking around in real life. Their doll forms are more stylized than I did in Creator Sim, just because I was playing around and I couldn't quite get it to be the right style, so I just decided to go more realistic this time. The other thing is, you're going to notice that both Simone and Peder, who have darker skin, that's how you know it's not Fleur, both Simone and Peder are wearing either gray or white or khaki clothing, and it covers up their arms and their legs. That is not how the characters actually dress. The characters are most of the time nude. As classical statues often are. But other than that, they'll sometimes wear like loose one-piece clothing. It's usually light colors. But the reason why in Creator Sim I completely covered up their limbs, mostly, is because in story they both have moving tattoos. They're actually magical, and they're not really tattoos, they're actual things that started growing through their stone bodies. It's a long story. They survived a nuclear apocalypse, and then nature reclaimed the land, and because they couldn't move, they kind of got damaged, and the damage turned into like magical moving markings. That's the simple explanation. But the Creator Sim was so limited that I wasn't, especially for tattoo options, at least. I presumed the actual game itself was going to have a much wider selection of options, but it's a demo, so it's limited. And none of the tattoos looked at all like anything for Simone and Peder, so I just kept them covered up, because imagining them completely blank just, yeah, nah, that doesn't work. Anyway, enough blabbering from me. You probably want to see those photos now. Okay, okay, I'm going to do this really quick. Okay, Fleur is the one with black hair, blue eyes, not pale skin, but like pink skin. Like mine, but darker pink. And then there's Peder, who has lavenderish hair, is brown. And then there's Simone with teal hair, who's a darker brown than Peder. There. Now you know who's who. Now on to the photos.